Okay, President Proctor, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the school board meeting for the San Mateo Foster City School District. I am calling the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. It is January 13th, 2022, and we are going to recess to closed session to discuss the following items. Item 2.1, Government Code 54957, Public Employee Discipline Dismissal Release. Item 2.2, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation, Government Code 54956.9, Student versus San Mateo Foster City School District, OAH case number 2021-00850. And item 2.3, Government Code 54956.9, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation, OAH case number 2021-1000300. And we will reconvene at 6:30. Thank you.
President Proctor, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. We are reconvening to our regular meeting with nothing to report out of closed session. So we will go to item 3.2, which is the flag salute. So if everyone can stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Okay, we will move on to roll call. I will just go down the line. Trustee Warren. Here. I don't think we heard you. We see you now.
I'm having mute issues.
Okay.
Here.
Trustee Watkins.
Here.
Trustee Corzo.
Here.
Trustee Chin.
Here.
And I am here too. So we can now move on to item 3.4, approval of agenda, January 13, 2022.
A motion to approve the agenda.
Would anyone like to second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Corzo made the motion, Trustee Watkins second. We will do a roll call vote. So Trustee Warren.
Yes.
Trustee Watkins.
Yes.
Trustee Corzo.
Yes.
Trustee Chin.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. We will now move on to item 4.1, public statements related to non-agenda topics. The San Mateo Foster City School Board cannot act upon any matter that has not been included and publicly posted on the agenda, except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. The board may refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and or action where appropriate. Please limit your statements to 3 minutes. Peter, can you please check with our Zoom? We have no one in public, by the way, so are in person in public. So Peter, would you mind checking the Zoom audience to see if anyone would like to make a public comment?
Absolutely. And may I ask Trustee Corzo, would you mind doing the interpretation announcement, please?
Sure. Bienvenidos. Si quieren, si ocupan traducción, por favor, levanten la mano o también pueden cambiar su idioma haciendo clic en el mundo que ven en su pantalla y seleccionando español. Gracias.
Thank you, Trustee Corzo. For the members of the public who might be attending for the first time via Zoom, if you would like to make public comment on anything that is not on the agenda for this evening, please use the raise your hand functionality and you will have 3 minutes to make your comment to the board. So please raise your hand. Okay. President Proctor, we have no hands for public comment on non-agenda items.
Great, thank you. 4.2 is public statements related to agenda items. Persons will be called on upon at the appropriate time. So we can move on to item 4.3, which is the foundation and committee reports. Does anyone have anything to share?
So I attended the PTA Council meeting this past week on Monday, and we you keep looking. I wasn't sure if I was being heard or not. So anyway, we talked about fundraising. We had a great presentation from the Ed Foundation talking about a great grant that we got from Gilead for the district to support STEM education involving Legos, which I'm like, how can you go wrong with Legos in education, right? I'm like, woohoo, yay, I want to play with them. And we also talked about equity and fundraising and PTA budgets as well, and had a great conversation around Omicron and sending our kids to school, and basically all the things that parents are very much concerned about at this point. We spoke about it at a PTA presidential type level.
We had an equity task force meeting on Tuesday, and the task force had an opportunity to look at some of our discipline policies and some of the discipline policies that Oakland Unified utilizes, and just to do a little bit of comparison between those policies and begin the conversation around how we are going to, what kinds of modifications we're going to make, kind of in line with the school to prison pipeline resolution that we passed, that really asks us to consider re-examining some of our policies. So they will be continuing that work in upcoming meetings, and we'll be bringing something to the board in terms of recommendations. I believe the goal is March, but Superintendent Ochoa, you can correct me if I'm wrong with that timing.
Anyone else? Okay, I can share that I attended the Ed Foundation meeting this week, and I'm excited to remind everyone that the readathon is happening soon. And so I was just going to share some dates. On Friday, January 21st, there's an event at the San Mateo Library, and Saturday, January 22nd, there's an event at the Foster City Library to kick off the readathon. So stay tuned for more information. The dates of the readathon are from January 21st to February 4th. And now that a lot of our families are staying indoors and keeping safe, it's a great time to grab a book and read and get some minutes in. So I think that would be, it's a great time for this. The second meeting that I attended was a communications committee meeting that was, I think, just yesterday. And we talked a lot about the communication that's been happening recently around just COVID and testing and vaccines, and that's everything's been going really well on the communication front. I won't speak too much about it, but I know that coming up in February, they'll be coming to the board to talk about website updates and all that kind of stuff. So we'll stay tuned for that. Anyone else? Okay. Pull up my agenda, sorry. Okay. We are now moving on to item 4.4. We will hear from SMETA, CSEA, and SMEA for an update. And whoever wants to go first can jump right in.
I'll go first. I wanted to first thank everyone for quickly assembling for rapid test distribution, for the office staff to PTSA members, even Madam President Proctor herself. I also want to thank the office staff in general. We went from running regular offices to COVID Central pretty much overnight, from testing to tracking and updating and pretty much everything in between. It's made it hard for everyone to keep up on their regular tasks. So please be understanding of that, parents. I myself worked from 6:30 to 4:45 today, and I got absolutely nothing done besides COVID. So again, please be understanding. I also want to thank our custodians for doing their best to keep everything clean and safe for everyone. You know how they say it takes a village to raise a child. The school district is definitely a village. We have teachers working during prep to cover absences. So parents, if your children's assignments are not graded, do not blame the teachers. It is the administrative assistant's fault because we begged them to cover a class. Don't blame them. They're working very hard, and yeah. We also have teachers helping in the offices in the morning when it's completely chaotic. So thank you very much, teachers. We very much appreciate you. I want to thank the office staff for going way beyond their normal job duties and hours for that matter. Superintendent Ochoa our mask deliverer and substitute teacher at one of our schools, Sue Weezer, who was a custodian, a mask deliverer and substitute teacher as well, and John Cosmos, who was a substitute teacher and I believe a custodian as well, and everyone else at the district office who has stepped up to assist in areas that aren't usually yours. Thank you all. It's been rough, but our village has come together to keep our schools open and safe. In time for just a very small public service announcement. Please sign your children up for pooled testing. It's working very well, and it will make your life 10 times easier. Please do it. It's effective. It's working. You need to do it. That's all I have to say. As a parent, as an employee, please sign them up. Please also do not go to our offices when you are sick in an attempt to get rapid tests. We do not have a surplus of them, and we don't want to get sick. And you don't want us to get sick, because if that office gets sick, that's a whole lot of trouble for that school. So please, please, please. Please keep your students home if they are ill, and please wash your hands and wear your masks. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'd like to echo much of what Alicia said and start by thanking all of our CSCA brethren, the custodians who are working really hard to clean up after us and keep us all disinfected and safe, the office staff who is doing a lot of rapid testing and helping schools organize coverage for classes for teachers that are out. I do want to acknowledge also teachers who are who have jumped back into virtual teaching and connecting with kids through Zoom and Google Meets while they are out. I know Abbott has had almost 200 students out the last week. So I appreciate all of our teachers making sure that the learning continues for our students. And I do want to give a shout out to our district staff who took the hashtag all in to heart. It has been a pleasure. I know that Sue and Dennis spent time, Sue and John spent time being custodians at Baywood. We had lots of district staff at Abbott come, including our superintendent, Diego Ochoa, and it was really fun just for me to see Mr. Ochoa in action as a teacher. I got to spend a little time in that class with one of our kiddos. And just everybody who has really pulled together. We appreciate the KN95 masks. We really appreciate extending COVID leave when you didn't necessarily have to. And we appreciate just the continuous work on you guys are doing, keeping us all safe. So we continue to look forward to collaborate as the situation changes and shifts. I want to say thank you for what we've done so far, and I look forward to continuing to work together to get us through this next little surge. So thank you and Happy New Year, everybody.
I can go ahead and speak for SMEA if the time's appropriate. All right, thank you, Allison. Well, good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Choa, and community members. For those who may not know me, I am Chad Slife, the very honored principal of Lead Elementary School in the Shoreview neighborhood of San Mateo. Our Lead Owls hoot with excellence. During my tenure, now in year 3, we have seen such tremendous transformation in our entire school community. And I'm always ready and happy to share our successes and our story. So those listening tonight, please contact me at any time or come join me for a lead enrollment tour happening every Thursday this month at 10:30. You can sign up on our website. But tonight, I want to take this opportunity actually to publicly acknowledge my heroes. The recent winter holidays and Omicron, as Alicia was highlighting, have brought a brand new challenge. As every day since January 5th, we've seen over 100 students of nearly 400 at Lead absent. And these heroes I'm about to highlight are irreplaceable. First and foremost, my Lead staff. Our committed teachers continue to persevere, tirelessly working with loving care to provide a safe and supportive learning environment every single day despite the hurdles we're currently facing. Our outstanding office team, custodial staff, librarian, counselors, TOSAs, nutrition staff, annex staff, and special education team continue to make magic happen no matter what. And we arrive at school every day and every morning to celebrate our children inside and outside of the classroom. Secondly, I just want to say thank you to our amazing LEAD families who trust in us and have created a true partnership in supporting their children academically and social emotionally with open communication and collaboration. And much love to our PTA, who has lifted us up throughout the pandemic, keeping us united. I didn't get their permission to share their names aloud tonight, but they know who they are and how important they are to us. And lastly, I have to highlight 4 district heroes who are like literally on the ground with us at LEAD every day. Susie Riley, our district coordinator for student services and everything related to safety. Catherine Lee, she is our school nurse who, one word, everything. This woman could be running our country. And Stephanie Gibson, our coordinator of enrollment and COVID pool testing. Please do, like Alicia said, families trust in the process, please sign up. She just keeps us organized and understood. And then my heroine every morning around 6 a.m., Gina Perez, who continues to find us guest teachers to keep our students safe and learning. Despite the current obstacles I've highlighted, our community at LEAD has remained committed to both equitable and inclusive practices for all of our students, our staff, family, and community members. We truly do walk this talk every day. Come on campus and you'll see it. Our vision at LEAD, it was written last year, a new one as a group of teacher, staff, and caregivers, is for our LEAD students, our owls, to achieve their full potential by being active partners in their education and advocates for justice and equity, especially the obstacles we've seen over the past 2 years. On behalf of the LEAD community, I'd like to thank you for your continued support. Keep it coming. And like Alicia also shared, I had this already, Alicia, you took it from me. We know it takes a village to raise and support our children, and at LEAD, we have a thriving metropolis. Thank you and stay well and healthy.
Thank you, Alicia, Julie, and Chad, for sharing your updates and for reminding us of all the heroes and all of the village members that it's taking to get through this. And I really appreciate hearing what's going on, and thanks for the reminders about keeping everyone safe. So we will move on to item 4.5, which is announcements. Does anyone have an announcement? Okay, I can share a couple while Trustee Chin is thinking. One announcement I wanted to share was, so we had some of us joined the county call. We had a county call today, and we also had a call yesterday with County Superintendent Nancy McGee. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of information that came out of there. One being that, we're all trying, the strategy here is testing, and we're all experiencing testing delays and frustration. And they explained that a lot of that is just due to the testing companies having shortages. There's shortages everywhere with staff, but it sounds like in the next few weeks, hopefully we'll be getting through this and there will be more testing available. So I just wanted to remind everyone to keep testing and staying safe. Hold on, my notes. Okay, I think that was mainly it, just in terms of those meetings. And then I did want to mention that this month is School Board Recognition Month. So I just wanted to thank my fellow trustees for everything that you do and for your leadership. So those are my 2 announcements.
I'll just make one announcement. I did receive an email from the city of San Mateo. They are restarting their general plan, general plan workshops. And there are 2 virtual workshops coming up. One is Saturday, January 22nd. That's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then the next one is Thursday, January 27th from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And there will be Spanish interpretation at that specific meeting on Thursday. And that's all I have to announce.
And I actually, next Tuesday, January 18th at 7 p.m., our Special Education District Advisory Council, or CDAC, is having a meeting for all the parents who and community members. And we would love to have everybody in our community attend this meeting. It's on inclusion, which is a very important topic in special education. It's being presented by Common Ground Society, which is out of Santa Rosa, and they do presentations on inclusion. So this meeting will be via Zoom at 7 p.m. next Tuesday. The translation will be available, and I hope many within our San Mateo Foster City School District community can attend this meeting.
Thanks. I just thought of one more meeting to share. Next week on the 20th, Trustee Chin and I will be joining Superintendent Ochoa for the next school board community workshop. And so that's going to be virtual, and it's from 6 to 8 p.m. and it will be on Zoom. So hope to see you guys there virtually. Any other announcements before we move on? Okay, we are moving on to item 4.6, Superintendent Report.
Thank you, President Proctor. It's my honor to give a report tonight. What a week and a half we've had as an educational community here in San Mateo County. I want to begin by thanking all of our outstanding students coming to school, eager to learn, ready for the experience of being safe and being healthy, but being really engaged in their education. Last Friday, I had the fortunate opportunity to go to Dr. Cristian Rubalcaba's Abbott Middle School. In my time there, visiting with staff and checking in with students, I came across our teacher union president, Julie MacArthur. She mentioned in her remarks, we collaborated in working with students that day. She spent the better part of first period in my class. And, you know, I taught 4 classes that day, math 6, and I loved every minute of it. It was just the best morning I've had in months. And, you know, I learned every single class was so different. It was almost like teaching 4 different classes, 4 different preps, because my students needed so much personalization and so much different kind of support. On the roster, the class was the same. Math 6, first period, math 6, second period, third and fourth period were also math 6. But my experience as a teacher was I was teaching 4 unique learning communities. So I really want to give a huge thank you to all of our teachers who do that every day. I emailed back and forth with the teacher whose class I substituted for, because I imagine that has to feel a little bit funny to have the superintendent cover your class. Your students were awesome. Yeah, it was just amazing to experience and really, really fun to do. I think the idea behind it was just so that all of our teachers and staff could see that we're really here to support our schools and to really live by our word. So I want to thank all of our schools for being there for all of our students. Actually, interestingly enough, the following week, I went over to Bowditch Middle School because we had a recent delivery of KN95 masks we were taking into the school office. And I run into our classified union president, Alicia Aragon. That's why she referred to me as a mask deliverer. Because, you know, the work that we're doing is so unique in that, say, for instance, the district's system for delivering things to schools. You know, we have a department here that takes things out to schools. Well, they have a plan for the day, and the plan involves, you know, scheduling out how they're going to do their work and getting it done. There's no way for them to account for the fact that UPS is going to deliver 3,000 KN95 masks at 12:45 p.m. when they've already left for their second run of the day. So that means at the administrative side here at the district office, we're not going to let those masks just sit in the office for another day. So we start divvying them up and put them in our vehicles and start driving around. That includes me. It includes all of the administrators here at the district office. That's what it means to try to live by the goal and by the word that we put out there. So, you know, that day I got a chance to sit and talk with the Bowditch office staff and administration and really just support them. So I want to thank Alicia and thank all of our CSEA staff who do such amazing work on behalf of our students. So that's first and foremost, is to thank all of our staff. I want to really give encouragement to those members of the community that are out there that want more information about COVID, that want more information about masks and about vaccinations and about the mitigation strategies that we have in place. One of my close colleagues here at the district office is Diego Perez. He's our communication specialist. He and I are working on a new dashboard that will debut next Monday, in which we'll share with parents cases within the school. We'll share with parents number of households that are affected by COVID within a school, number of students who were on campus the week in which we received notification that they were positive for COVID, and then the number of classrooms affected at the school. So the visual look of it's going to be really strong and it's going to be really well understood. It will be more content. So the PDF will be like 10 pages long instead of 2 pages long, but it will have much more critical information. And the way we arrived at that was basically taking the emails from parents that have come in over the last 2 weeks and figuring out if we could give them this information on the front end, what might answer most of these questions. So that's the intent of the new dashboard that we're going to debut on Monday. Actually, it'll be Tuesday because we're off on Monday, but Tuesday, January 18th. So we're excited about that. And the big message is safety, mitigation, testing, vaccination, so that we can all stay safe. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you for your report, Superintendent Ochoa. We will now move on to item number 5, proposed consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by the board in one motion in the form listed below. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion, unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be removed and discussed from the consent agenda. The superintendent and staff recommend approval of all consent items. Movement on any recommended consent item is appropriate at this time. Peter, can we check with the public to see if anybody would like to remove or pull an item on the consent agenda, please?
Absolutely. If there are any members of the public that would like to make comment on a particular agenda item under 5, proposed consent agenda, please use the raise your hand functionality within Zoom now. I'll ask you to give me the specific agenda item you'd like to make comment on. Okay, President Proctor, we have no hands for public comment on consent.
Great. Anyone on the board like to pull anything for discussion? Okay, then we will move on. Let's. Would anyone like to make a motion to propose to approve the proposed consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
I will second.
Thank you, Trustee Chin, for the motion and Trustee Watkins for the second. We will go now to a roll call vote. Trustee Warren.
Yes.
Trustee Watkins.
Yes.
Trustee Corzo.
Yes.
Trustee Chin.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So now we are going to move on to item 6.1, presentation on preschool programs.
Good evening, Superintendent Ochoa and Board of Trustees. I'm really pleased to present tonight, or to present 2 people who will present to you about our preschool programs in our district. Joining us this evening are Carrie Hazelton, who's the principal of preschool programs, and Carmen Lowe, who's the coordinator. Thank you, Carrie and Carmen.
Thank you. Let me pull up this PowerPoint. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Hazelton, and I am the principal for the preschool programs. And tonight, Carmen Lowe, the coordinator, and I will be presenting some updated information about our preschool programs. This slide shows an overview of our preschool programs. We have a variety of funding sources. We have fee-based tuition, our CSPP, which is our California State Preschool Programs, which is under our CDE, our state, and it's our preschool, state preschool. CCTR is our General Child Care and Development Program, which is now under the Department of Social Services. And this is our state subsidized TK and K program. Inclusion, we have an inclusion grant, which is the Inclusive Early Education Expansion Program. It's a 4-year grant. We also receive some funds from our own special ed department. Next is PIP, it's our Parent Involvement Project. We have a private donor that provides some funds for our preschool programs. And QRIS, that's California Quality Rating and Improvement System. We also have a variety of programs. We have inclusion programs, so where we have our fee-based and our special ed students in one classroom. We have blended Montessori, which has our state subsidized and fee-based students blended into one classroom. We have 2 different types of language immersion programs, Spanish immersion and Mandarin immersion. We have a STEAM program in one of our inclusion classes, and then play-based. We are located at 7 different school sites, with Turnbull being our largest site, and all the others have 1 or 2 classes. We have lots of staff, 2 administrators, 3 office staff members over at Turnbull, 2 Turnbull custodians, and 41 teachers and assistants across all of our sites.
So in the upcoming slide regarding preschool enrollment, please bear in mind that enrollment references the total number of students currently registered, and capacity reference the total number of licensed preschool slots available prior to the COVID pandemic. So for the current school year in our subsidized program, we have a total of 134 students enrolled. Our capacity prior to COVID is 210 licensed slots. In our blended classrooms, we currently have 32 students enrolled. Our capacity prior to COVID is 48 licensed spots. And as for our fee-based program, which also includes our inclusion classrooms, we have a total of 126 students enrolled, and this includes 9 SPED students. Our capacity prior to COVID for fee-based program is 196 licensed slots, which includes 17 slots for SPED students. So there are a few upcoming items that we wanted to highlight. First being a dental service collaboration that we have secured locally with Sonrisa's Dental. We found within the county that many subsidized families are unable or have trouble accessing dental services. And so we will be bringing this service for free to our subsidized families. Sonrisa's will conduct visual checkups, fluoride varnish, provide a goodie bag with toothbrush and toothpaste, as well as a follow-up phone call to each family individually. We're looking forward to this collaboration and partnership, which will begin in the spring and continuing in the fall, as well as the years to follow, to provide access of this service to our community. Another upcoming item that we're looking forward to is our blended inclusion classroom. In the upcoming school year, we will have 2 additional classrooms that are a part of our subsidized program. So moving forward, not only will we have inclusion classrooms in our fee-based program, but we will also have them in our subsidized programs. For our blended Montessori classrooms, there will be additional subsidized slots that will be opening up in the upcoming school year, both at Parkside as well as North Shoreview Montessori. And lastly, as we continue to rebuild our program in the times of COVID, we are looking at rehiring staff, increasing numbers in the upcoming school year, as well as reopening our second Fiesta Garden classroom that was closed this year due to low enrollment.
All right. We are looking at future expansion of our state subsidized preschool program when funds become available. We will utilize and provide the prior collected data and planning to respond to the questions in the application. CDE will review all of the applications to determine which programs will be awarded available funds. Typically, this is a very competitive process. And if we're awarded funds, we would work on getting classrooms licensed, purchasing or hiring staff, purchasing materials, supplies, furniture, and then begin enrolling students. So I'd like to end with a quote, and I'd like you to think about our whole preschool program as a box of crayons, and that each of us, our classes, our students, our staff, are all unique, but when you put us all together, our picture is complete. And now I'm going to open it up for questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any clarifying questions from the board?
Yes, I wanted to ask about the blended at Parkside and North Shoreview Montessori. Can you please specify blended in what way? Because I know you elaborated a little bit on the inclusion and oh, I don't have the slide up. Yeah, sorry, that's my question.
So our blended, we currently have the blended programs with their state subsidized and our fee-based. And so we're increasing the number of state subsidized slots at those two sites. So we're increasing the number of state subsidized students that can attend those two programs.
Okay, and
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just one more question.
Yeah.
And so those are students that are already attending North Shoreview and Parkside, is that right?
We'd be getting new students.
Oh,
so,
yeah, of course. Please,
yes,
sorry.
so additional ones.
Just as a follow-up to that, are the spots overall increasing or just for subsidized? I know, and another question I guess is, do you have the numbers on how many students are enrolled in each of those programs, subsidized and fee-based? I know in the past when we looked at those numbers, we weren't filling the subsidized spots. And so I'm just curious about sharing a little bit more about the decision to increase the spots. How many students do we currently have? What does the split look like? The intention was to be 50-50, but it wasn't happening the last time we looked at the numbers.
With COVID right now, we're only going to 16 students. And so currently we have 13 fee-based students and 3 state subsidized students in each of the classes. Prior to COVID, we were doing 3 state subsidized and 21 fee-based students. So now we're going to 5 state subsidized students. We haven't determined if we're going to go up to our full capacity of 24 students. So it may stay with 5 of our state subsidized, and then the remaining would be fee-based.
Can you explain more about the reasoning for 5 versus 50-50? Because my understanding from our conversations in the past is that the intention was for it to be 50-50.
we're moving in that direction. We give priority to students that are currently enrolled, and so they get for our fee-based get priority. So we're moving our way up, and we need to make sure that we're taking the number of slots that we have available for our state funded. And so we're taking to create the blended inclusion program with our state subsidized and special ed. We're using the slots that were for state subsidized and moving those ones over to our North Shore View and Parkside. So until we have additional state subsidized slots, we can't add more students.
Superintendent Ochoa, do you have something to add?
I do, President Proctor, thank you. My analysis of the current allocation of subsidized seats is that the district is currently operating at less than 30% of the number of seats that we are actually eligible for according to the population that we serve. So one thing that's very unique about, for example, California State Preschool Programs is that the state of California develops a funding model for these California State Preschool Program classrooms that you can think about it as a big pot of money for the entire state. And the state basically draws up regions. Now, the kind of funny, a little bit weird thing about it is that they're not exactly tied to counties in the way that we might think like, okay, every county gets a certain amount of dollars based on how many kids go there. So they start lumping counties and school districts together in a way that's sort of unusual, and it's not related to any other program that we have. And what the state does is they determine this number of seats that this region would have. And because it's a California State Preschool and you have to apply for it, and then you have to meet all the criteria for it, there are many, many school districts in our region every year who contact the state and say, I can't use all the seats I have. You gave me 400 seats and I only filled 285. So I need to give back 115 seats or close X number of classrooms. My push for the school board and for our administration will be to get every possible seat available, to basically flag to the state of California and flag to our regional California State Preschool Program advisor that we are kind of, you can think about our building on the front's going to say open for business. These are subsidized classrooms, so we receive funding for them. We have kids that need the classroom. Every dollar that we invest into early childhood education is going to save us $3 when kids get to kindergarten and upper grades. So it's a matter of preparing now to open multiple classrooms at multiple sites throughout the district. So I just wanted to acknowledge Dennis Hills as our new assistant superintendent. He's very integral in this work and he's very involved in this work. Carrie and Carmen have been amazing through this super difficult school year of managing the program, taking care of our children and working with all of our awesome staff. And Dennis and I have been, what's it like, Dennis? We're like in the kitchen cooking up a stew for next year and really for the year after, because it's really about us capturing all those available seats that might come open in the next 6 months. Plus, from time to time, the state does actually expand these programs. And when they send out the request for applications or what they call the RFA, we are applying. I believe we stand a really good chance to qualify for these classrooms, particularly at schools such as Park and Lead and Sunnybrae and Bayside and Laurel. So I think we're in a really good position. And what that will do is it will change the numbers that Carrie has been referencing tonight, where we're sort of taking a set number of seats and figuring out, okay, where can I put these seats? But like the number of seats isn't changing until they give us more seats. But we have to apply for them and they have to become available. So I think that's an important thing for us to think about and to be prepared for. Again, where's Patrick? He's a little dark on me. I can't see him on here, but Patrick, we're gonna get a grant for this, okay? Drink your water, drink your glass of water. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna get funding for this. And of course, you always spend a little bit more than what you get from grants, but it's worth it. It's worth every penny, because then we get these kids to kindergarten and TK, knowing their letter sounds, knowing their letter names, making friends, connecting with their classmates, and hopefully going to their neighborhood schools, having access to their neighborhood schools. So I would love to see these programs at Bayside and Laurel and Lead and Park and all the schools that need these programs so crucially. And we're in a somewhat good position to be able to apply for that. So those are my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll save my comments on the comments until we're allowed to comment. I do have one more clarifying question though. I had a question around, so on the slide around the current year and typical capacity, I just want to clarify, by typical capacity, do you mean how many spots are available or how many kids we typically have enrolled? I guess my question is like, if that number is how many kids are typically in, well, if that number is our capacity, then how many are typically enrolled versus how many are enrolled in this current year? Like, I'm not understanding how that differs. Like, we have our current year, what I take to be how many we have capacity for in a typical year, but then what is our typical enrollment in that year? Does that make sense? Okay.
Do you want me to answer or do you want to go, Carmen?
So to answer your question, Shara, the typical capacity where I mentioned the licensed spots is our maximum capacity prior to COVID, which would be about 24 per class, whereas now we're at 16. And so that would be our current year number that we had mentioned on the slide. So typical capacity is the max capacity we would be at if we didn't, if COVID didn't exist, and we didn't have to kind of, lessen our numbers for the safety of everyone.
And typically we try to fill to the capacity. So there's always been, almost all of our classes will be full at the 24 students. Every once in a while, we might have a class that has a few less than that, but for most years, we are at our full capacity.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from anyone?
Just wanted to clarify. So for current year, do you feel like it's COVID that has us so far away from our typical capacity, or are there other reasons that are being raised?
It is COVID. We are only enrolling to 16 students at this moment per classroom. So yeah, we have chosen to keep it small, and many of the programs in the county have also had their programs stay at a smaller enrollment number.
I had a question that was kind of piggybacking off of that. So I understand that we have limited capacity this year due to COVID. I was just curious, in terms of the fee-based versus the subsidized spots, did we like prioritize one or the other? Have we maxed out on our subsidized spots for this year, or how did that work?
We are actually, so all of our state subsidized is at full capacity, up to 16. Our blended Montessori is full. Our language immersion programs are full. The only one that is not at our 16 is our inclusion program. And we added a new inclusion program that I talked about, I believe, at the last board meeting, where I did a presentation. Our language rich program at George Hall, that was a focus on deaf and hard of hearing students blended with our fee-based students. So the focus of that classroom was very narrow, and we thought we were going to be able to enroll some students in that program. However, it didn't work this year. And so we have broadened the focus, and we were able to hire a credentialed teacher to be in that classroom. So we are beginning right now to enroll students in that classroom. And it will be a language development classroom where they're learning about language and learning through play and using the vocabulary. So we are excited to actually really begin that classroom, but that's the only reason why that class has inclusion is a lower capacity at this moment.
And could you explain a little bit more about the, I was very interested to see the dental services and how that partnership came about and who pays for it, and just a little bit more of information about that, please.
So Sunrisa is based in, well, they have two locations, based in San Mateo as well as Half Moon Bay. They provide services for the local community with insurance, as well as those who are low income at a sliding fee scale. For us specifically, we would be a partnership with Sunrisa, and they receive, my understanding is they receive grants and monies from private donors from the community, and that those are the funds that they use then to serve the communities such as ourselves in preschools to be able to come out and conduct the visual checkups and do the fluoride varnish, as well as the follow-up with the families. And their success rates with following up with families is at about 80% or higher. They say that families usually do respond to them, because that was one of my concerns. You know, the families don't know who you are, you know, would they respond? And what happens with that follow-up is they will inform the family regarding their child's checkup if they need further services. And at that point, then the family can opt to continue services with Sunrisa if they have Medi-Cal, or they can opt for services and pay based on their sliding scale. And so right now we will be starting in spring. The dates, you know, at this point is going to be flexible depending on how things go with COVID. And we already also have dates set up for the fall and look forward to future years.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions before we move on to public comment? Okay, Peter, would you mind checking with our Zoom audience to see if there are any public comments?
Absolutely. If there are any members of the public that would like to make comment on this item, please use the raise your hand functionality within Zoom now. We have one. Randy, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this presentation. And I have not a comment, but just a couple of questions that if the board members are so inclined that they could ask the presenters. So one question is about I guess the blended programs, or what are all the programs that have subsidized spots? In the presentation, it made reference to the Montessori programs. I was wondering whether the program at Fiesta Gardens, whether there are subsidized spots there. Also, whether at College Park, which has been a topic of discussion previously, whether there are subsidized spots for the Mandarin preschool there. And then this is kind of an advanced question, but have you been tracking of those subsidized students? What is the conversion or the uptake for them then enrolling into those magnet programs associated with those kind of magnet preschool spots that they've been put into? And then the other question that I had is, how does the district determine really what is the demand for the number of subsidized seats, right? You can open up a certain number of subsidized seats and say, do they get filled or not? But do you have any other way of estimating the demand? And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, President Proctor, we have no other hands for public comment.
Okay, then we will close public comment and I will open up to the board to make comments at this time.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Okay, so I did a quick number search, and while I couldn't find specifically like the number of preschoolers that are in San Mateo and Foster City, just the cities themselves, I was able to find something close for San Mateo County. As of 2020, and granted, a couple of years have passed, so it could be a slightly less, there were 26,625 children ages 3 to 5. I'm going to assume that, I don't know, maybe about 10,000-ish or so, and that might be a generous assumption, but how many of those students, and this is not a question per se, but more of a rhetorical question, how many of those students need preschool? We have so much documentation in the literature from both medical literature, child development literature, textbooks even. You know, as parents, we are all, you know, it's drilled into us how important the first 5 years count and how that just really sets up the child for future success. As a district, and Carrie and Carmen, you in particular have the honor to get these kids, you know, however many of those 26,625 preschoolers that belong to San Mateo and Foster City, you know, as cities, you're directly able to reach out and get some of these kids started on that path. I mean, that's just, I mean, it's you know, what do they say with you know, there's great responsibility, but it's you know, I'm going to jack it up, so I'm not going to say it. But, you know, when I see numbers such as, you know, we have a max capacity in non-COVID years of 210 subsidized seats, you know, for a blended program, 48 seats, for a fee-based program, 196 seats. My mind just goes to that number of like, how many of these kids are we missing? And how can we grow this program even beyond a state subsidy? Like I am freshly, you know, graduated out of the preschool age myself with my 3 children, but I still belong to a lot of these moms clubs. And I know for a fact that there's like all sorts of preschool fairs out there. And I would hope that we're not missing that opportunity to reach out to our community, to however many of those 26,625 kids, that we have that privilege and actually, as members of the community ourselves, obligation to start on the right foot and to see it, like to help with that brain development and help with that education. I would like to see more children reached with our preschools. I want to see, I want you to come back, Carrie and Carmen and Dennis, and tell me, oh my God, we've been able to, you know, this next year, we're going to have 400 seats available. We're going to open up classes. We are going to go out and hire new preschool teachers. You know, these private preschools aren't going to have anything on what the quality of the program that we are giving the kids that start out their education journey with San Mateo Foster City preschool program, whether it's fee-based, whether it's a subsidized, whether it's a blended inclusion, whether it's a Montessori, whether it's language immersion, because I think we kind of started to forget the language immersions in talking about the Montessoris. I want to see that happen. I want to see just even more good happening. So I look forward to hearing back from you in the future as to how many more of these 26,625 preschoolers that are in San Mateo County that belong to us, yeah, as two communities are getting educated by the school district that they live in.
Go ahead, Shara. Go ahead.
It's hard when you can't look at each other in person. Thank you all for the presentation and for sharing a little bit of an update and for just all of the work that you've done over the past, I mean, in general, but definitely over the past couple of years. I know that we're, as with every, all of our staff and educators, we're in unprecedented times. And I know that it's a lot going on. And, our preschool staff and administrators are still dealing with kiddos that, don't have the ability to be vaccinated. And, it's still a lot, right? As a parent of a preschool child, it's a little frightening. And so I know that, you all just providing that support and being a resource and place where kiddos can go and are safe is, I know, really appreciated by the parents and families in our community. So just thank you for that. And to all of the preschool educators and staff, just wanted to share immense gratitude. I did have a couple follow-ups. As you know, I mean, I've been saying it for a while, and I know that we have made the move to provide more inclusive preschool environments in our Montessori programs. And I want us to see more. I want to see more of that. I want to see it be more equitable. So I don't love we have 3 subsidized students in our classrooms and 21 fee-based, right? That's not really like a blended inclusive model. I know that there's a lot of context and a lot of, it seems like moving pieces. And I know we've talked about that at length over the years, but, I'm looking forward to us getting creative and thinking about how to make that happen. I'm looking forward to us really thinking about communication and outreach because, we know that there's a huge childcare shortage in our county, and we then are at times maybe not filling subsidized spots. And so I just want to I'm just thinking about how do we create at the Montessori programs where it's happening, but then expanding that. So there's kind of 2 pieces is how do we ensure that the programs that we have up and running truly are blended and inclusive, are much, much closer to 50-50. And then how do we expand that? I think a lot about Turnbull and, there's a huge divide there in terms of a number of subsidized programs and a number of fee-based programs. And not that everyone wants the full Mandarin immersion for the preschool experience, but how do we make that an option, and how do we provide at least some opportunity for that blended learning and that inclusiveness? For a long time, there wasn't priority from our subsidized program into College Park, and we changed that. And so how do we ensure that we're providing the support for students that aren't in the fee-based program to then be more successful when they are a part of that program at the elementary school level? I would like to see that. And I think maybe Randy asked this, but I would be interested to see kind of some of those numbers. I know we, particularly the Turnbull to College Park transition, we had talked about not being as strong. I'd be really interested to see what those numbers look like. And now that we've instituted the priority and what that kind of looks like, and then what are the ways that, again, we're working on that communication and outreach. And I'd be interested to know the same data for our Montessori programs. So of the kids that are in the preschool programs, how does that transfer? And how are they doing? So I'd be interested to see that moving forward. I feel like there was another question, but now I'm blanking on, or another comment. But yeah, I think those are kind of the big pieces for me. I'm definitely in support of us expanding our program. I think it's needed. I think it's all about communication outreach and how we're, ensuring that, we're getting the message out to our community that this is a space for their kids, and these are the resources and supports that we have. And I'm excited about this partnership and wonder if, it kind of, I feel like opens the doors to this concept of having some of our preschools be a little bit more kind of community based, right? Like, are there other services that we can begin providing. And I think it'll weave nicely into the continued conversations that we'll have about the new school and that being a community-based program, and how do we continue to expand those opportunities for some of our students and families. So thank you guys for taking this on and all the work that you're doing, and looking forward to keep pushing forward in some of these areas that have been a point of conversation over the past couple of years.
I also want to express my gratitude. I understand it's definitely, it's a hard time, and I'm sure there are a lot of families that have made the very deliberate choice to, keep their kids at home because they're still not able to be vaccinated, and that is very real for our community. I wanted to ask, I think generally, right, like we know that there's a big need for preschool, and that the push like at a statewide level for universal pre-K is happening, but I think there's like this disconnect, right? Like that messaging comes out from the state, and then it's like, okay, who's gonna actually implement that? How is that gonna actually work? Are there classrooms? Is there space? And so it's like much more complicated than just, people think like that it's already happening, and the presentation that you've showed and the data that you've shared like reminds us that we're still far away from that. But I would like to just get a better understanding of how we're moving closer to that, like what we would need to make that a reality in our community and in our school district, that like every kid that has a need for preschool has, like, do we have enough space? Like, how do we get there, right? Like, what's that, what's the plan for that? And for example, like I know South San Francisco soon will be, there's like a community effort to pass a measure to like fund universal pre-K in the city of South San Francisco, and there are unified school districts, so it's a little different. But the reason I bring it up is because it like if we don't know what we need in order to get there, and like I said, it's all a little complicated, right? Because there's statewide, like, what do we need to do as on a local level? What do we need to do as board members to support you all in making this happen? And I think I just like a little bit more like a little bit more of like a high level picture of like where we fit into the bigger scheme of things. I mean, you definitely explained like, the funding and we got some of the names of the funding streams, et cetera, but I think we want to make this like information really accessible to our community also, so that we build an understanding of how we get to that space. And yeah, I also, Allison asked the question about sonrisas, and I'm really excited about that because that is a really, really big need. I want to clarify, like, so the partnership will be just for kids in the preschool program, correct? Okay. I'm just wondering, like, is there, I would hope that like there's, we can like promote that and maybe, strengthen that partnership in the future. And like they're not partnering with us for our entire school district yet, are they? It's just preschool. That's right. Okay. Well, we'll see how we can, I mean, that's definitely a need. There's like most definitely, especially for some of our newcomer students that haven't had access to dental care, and it's just a really big need. So I'm really excited that that partnership is beginning, and just yeah, I hope it can develop into like meet the other needs in our district and in our community. And then I wanted to ask for some data on like how many folks do we like do we accept into our programs like what, like 80% of applicants, or like what's that number? What does that look like typically? And then I also, as we were talking about this, I was reminded that the city of San Mateo has a childcare and preschool like fund. And so, you know, are we partnering with them? Are we, you know, partnering with Build Up for San Mateo County? And just like, you know, 4Cs, what do those lines of communication look like? And how are we, you know, working with our not just the city of San Mateo, but also Foster City, right, to fill a really big need in our community. So yeah, those are my comments. Thank you.
I just want to answer one question. I know that the city of San Mateo had hundreds of thousands of dollars in that childcare account, and I believe a couple of years ago, right at the time of COVID hit in March, I think they were looking to grant those out. I think they did grant them out to struggling childcare providers. There was a thought back in the day of talking to them to say, hey, yeah, you know, don't forget about us. But I think it was past the point. So from my understanding, I don't think there's a ton of money left in that account, but it's always worth looking into. But I do recall that from, maybe it was one of our liaison meetings or something like that. But so I also want to say thank you. And I think Trustee Watkins actually said it very eloquently. But I do want to repeat to thank you guys for everything, because again, of our entire student population, it's our preschool population that is not eligible yet to be vaccinated for COVID. So I know that you guys of our entire population is especially in a delicate situation. So I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing to keep our kids safe and still educate them. So but I wanted to, so my only question actually was something that Trustee Corzo brought up, and she beat me to the punch, was about universal TK. And the question is, when you look at the slides and you talk about expansion, and the thought is that, you know, universal TK per Governor Newsom is being rolled out, right? And theoretically, there'll be funding, and it's being rolled out every couple of months, is added to the TK every year. And so considering that it will hit all of our 4-year-olds, I think it was by 2025, I think it is. So I'm curious, so if you think about the expansion as you go forward, our preschool is mainly made up of 3 and 4-year-olds. And when we talked a couple years ago about the inclusion, about the subsidized and everything else, there was a rollout. It was a 2-year rollout because you couldn't kick the 3-year-olds out, you know, in order to bring more subsidized programs in. You had to let them graduate to the 4-year-olds and then have to them graduate to kindergarten before you can start to diversify the program. And so my question actually is more about thinking long-term in the next couple of years, right? How much of the universal TK rollout is going to affect our program? And is it going to be a positive thing or negatively? Now, my brief comment is, of course, we're in a childcare desert. We need, as the district takes on more for universal TK for the 4-year-olds and opens that up to everybody who's age 4, I think that's going to help out. But it changes the sort of the demographics of the preschool levels and the Montessori's and everyone, all the childcare programs that feed into our district. And so I'm curious, what do you guys think about, how is the program going to change? Are we planning for it? You know, are we all of a sudden going to go down to 2-year-olds, or is it, you know, is it all just going to be 3-year-olds? It's just a curiosity of what are we going to do? And let me just stop and just say also thank you for the presentation. I know that you guys, again, have been doing a lot. And I know that in previous presentations, it is a maze and a labyrinth to try and circumvent whole state process with all the different programs that you've outlined, with all the different requirements. And so I just really appreciate all your hard work on everything out there. So I'll stop talking, and I'd love for some sort of universal TK sort of comment or answer. Thank you.
Were you looking for a response, or
Well,
do you guys have anything to share? Trustee Chen?
I mean, if you guys have anything just off the top of your heads, if not, it could be something for later.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to speak. So there's a lot happening with the universal TK, the universal pre-K. Carmen and I were just on a webinar right before this board meeting about universal pre-K, and over the couple years of trying to plan that out. So now we have a lot of work to do and pull together lots of stakeholders, because it doesn't only affect us as preschool, it affects the after school program, it affects our TK program, and it affects the facilities. So we really have to come together, and there's a template that we have to put together and create a plan as a district. They even talked about working with the community and with partnerships with the county and other programs or other school districts. So there's a lot of work ahead, and we're just in that beginning stages learning about it, and then moving forward. So after tonight, now we have to work on getting the correct stakeholders together and create that plan. So it is going to affect our programs a lot. With the TK, they talked about 2-year-olds coming into our state subsidized. There's talk of wraparound programs. I mean, there's so many different options that we have to come together as a district to determine what is the best option for our district and all of the programs that are involved. So more to come, I guess.
Okay, I had a couple comments. So I first wanted to thank you both for the presentation. I really enjoyed learning more about the preschool programs, and thank you for everyone that works in the preschools for keeping our most youngest, littlest students safe and healthy during this time. Randy had brought up a question where she talked about how do you know what's the demand for the subsidized spots, and so I just wanted to restate her question and see what you guys think in terms of how do we know that we're meeting the needs, or what is the need, and that sort of thing.
Corinne, do you want me to go, or? So we work with the county office and the N4Cs, and so they are promoting our program out to people that call and ask about what programs are available. And then we also do flyers, we have banners, word of mouth. A lot of our families come from current families that have been in our program, families that have other kids in our district. So we are using that, and then once we have available spots, we let the county know, and so that they can help promote. 4Cs every month, I think it is, every other month, I fill out a survey about how many spots we have available in all of our programs, not only state subsidized, but are fee-based as well, so they can let families know what we have available. So we're constantly trying to promote our program and let other organizations know how many slots we have available.
Great, thank you. I did want to mention that, you know, over the past 2 years with the pandemic, we've really seen a lot of partnerships form, and people stepped up for students and kids. I'm just thinking back to like when organizations were doing the learning hubs, and we increased food services, and we now have pool testing and PCR testing after school. And so it's really nice to see that there's a dental service that's going to be coming, and it does make me think, what else can we do for students? I was thinking, like, can we get optometrists for vision, and all kinds of different things, and it makes me excited about the community school idea. And so I thank you for sharing that, and I just hope that as we continue to find needs for our students, that we're able to form these partnerships and meet those needs. So thank you again. And Superintendent Ochoa, I see your hand is raised, so I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, President Proctor. I don't want to miss this opportunity to talk about something that I think is sort of in the background right now, that Dennis Hills, our new assistant superintendent, and I have talked about quite a bit. And it's something at the parent and community level that's very important to think about. Parkside is not a neighborhood school. North Shoreview is not a neighborhood school. Turnbull is the site that it serves is not a neighborhood school. Those are three of the main schools where we're currently housing preschool programs. So if you happen to live in the Sunnybrae community, your question is, where is my preschool program? What are the hours for my preschool program? And how do I enroll in my preschool program? If your option is to cut 1.5 miles across town and transportation's an obstacle for you, that's a huge limiting factor in accessing a preschool. We have every opportunity ahead of us in the months ahead to plan for schools where we know there is a great need, based on simply analyzing the percentages of students at given schools who qualify for the free and reduced lunch program, which are not identical to the preschool, California State preschool guidelines, but they're pretty close. And simply extrapolating the number of kids in each of those grade levels who are neighborhood students, and then calculating how many seats would theoretically be available for service in that community. And it's in the hundreds, district-wide. This governor and legislature and Department of Education are deeply, deeply invested in the idea of early childhood education and school readiness. And what you heard Carrie say is they're going so far as to float the idea of 2-year-olds joining preschool programs. So if the need that I'm projecting for the district is 800 seats, and we currently have less than 200, that projection I'm making is based on only 3- and 4-year-olds. If we start adding in 2-year-olds, the number just grows. This is a district where we have classrooms available at multiple sites throughout the district. Good, bad, or indifferent, we now have classrooms that are actually available. We just opened a new school. We have some enrollment shifts happening, some reductions in certain schools. This is our opportunity to build some baby playgrounds that meet our preschool program requirements, and to think big about how to get more children access to an education earlier, which I'll end with this. If you bring me 600 kids before they start TK in kindergarten, I'm going to find 50 kids who need special education services, but I'm going to give it to them when they're 3 and 4. If I have to wait until they're 5 and 6, they're already 1.5 years behind. If I give it to them when they're 3 and 4, they're 4 months behind and 5 months behind. And the science will tell you that these early intervention services, they affect them in a positive way the rest of their academic career. So this is one of those things that I get excited about the future of, because this is truly a community where we have the components in place to be able to succeed in trying this. Other communities where there are very, very limited classroom spaces, this is a really difficult thing to even think about, and we're just in a very different place. Part of the communication effort, President Proctor, is to take a page out of the Fiesta de Opciones event we had at College Park Elementary School, where after the event and analyzing the data, A really big group of families from the North Central San Mateo community have already applied in the transfer portal for enrollment at one of our schools next year. That's a big change over prior years, and also realizing the importance of being physically present in their community to offer explanations and reasons and work with families through the application process. And I think we continue those kind of strategies, albeit when we're not in the middle of a surge for COVID. I think we're going to see a really big number of families apply for seats. And then when they find out that these seats are held at their older kids' elementary schools, I think they're going to be excited and be willing to send us their students.
Great. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any other final comments before we move on? Okay, then we will go to item number 7, board member statements and requests for future agenda items.
All right, I'll go first. President Proctor actually mentioned this a little bit earlier in our announcements, and I think our committee reports about attending the county trustee meeting that we had yesterday, and then also the County of San Mateo elected officials call today regarding COVID, both regarding COVID. I just want to say that to everybody that especially the district office and our teachers and our staff, classified and certificated administrators, and especially our nursing group and everybody, just really thankful for everything that you guys are doing to keep our kids in school. I know that we've had a lot of, pool testing is working fantastically. So I would definitely encourage everyone to sign your kids up. I think what we're like at 85% or so of our population is being tested every week. And so if we could really up those numbers, that would really help. So if you have friends who are not in it yet, please encourage them to sign their children up. But I just want to say thank you. I know that the next couple of weeks, I really wish that, at the end of the year and the last year and the beginning of this year, we were going to have a different year, but we actually took a different turn. But I am still optimistic that we're going to get through this. It may just be a few weeks of Omicron, but I am optimistic that we will get through this. And so I just want to thank everybody for all your hard work. I know it's especially challenging. So, again, I thought we were going to be done, but here we are again. So, yeah, I just want to thank you guys and definitely thank the community for understanding that we are really trying to keep all the kids in school because we need to keep our kids in school. It's just better for everybody, for them. Basically for them. So, thank you.
I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. This is our first meeting of the year, and it's surprisingly going to end really early, way earlier than normal. And we had a really important topic, I think a really excellent topic to start the year with, right? Early learning and preschool and just, what we envision for the future of our community and for our kiddos, our youngest kiddos. I just wanted to share some news. So the city of San Mateo has officially started their has started forming their diversity and equity task force, and I'm really honored to be a part of that. So the first meeting will be at the end of this month, and we are going to do some good work. And I do honestly foresee that childcare and there'll be like lots of topics in education, like lots of topics will be covered in that space, and I'll make sure to update everyone on how that goes.
Sorry, can I add one more thing? Sorry. I just wanted to also thank the math school team. As a parent of a sixth grader, I know there's another parent of a sixth grader here. The two meetings that the district had on the Mathway Pathways this week was very good. I thought that the information was excellent. I thought the way that the presentation was set up and the way that they actually stopped midway for those who were only interested in the first and second pathway and then broke it off into the third pathway was great. And then so I just want to thank you guys for all your hard work on that. I know it's not over. I know that there's a survey today, but it's still an ongoing conversation. But I really appreciate everyone's hard work on that as well. Thank you.
I will share some comments. I also wanted to say Happy New Year. I know 2022 is off to like not the best start in terms of COVID that we were hoping for, but I wanted to thank every single person that works in this school district just for everything that you've been doing, especially since winter break. I know that as we've heard, everybody is all in and doing what they can do to keep the school district running and keeping everybody safe and healthy. And so I know you all have been kind of waiting for that light at the end of the tunnel for almost 2 years now, and I hope that we can get there soon. It sounds like, you know, Omicron might be, although it's intense, hopefully it will be dwindling soon. I also wanted to mention thanks to the math team as well. I did do the survey I didn't do the survey. I watched my son take the survey this afternoon. And, you know, he's not really someone that's like always been that excited about math, but he watched the video in class and he's been learning about the different pathways. And I watched him choose his pathway and I thought that he made a really smart choice and he's really thinking about his future. And so I really appreciate everybody in the math group that's been helping our kids think about their future in math. I think that is all that I have to say. Would anybody else like to make some final comments?
Sure. I'll just echo what everybody else has said. You know, thank you so much to everybody who has made such an effort to get our kids back to school as well as keep our kids in school despite Omicron. I think in terms of behavior therapies, since that's my life right now, and I keep hoping that maybe this is COVID's extinction burst. You know, it gets worse and then it gets better. So I'm hopeful that maybe what we're seeing is an extinction burst. Of course, granted, we've got a few more letters in the Greek alphabet to go, so that may or may not hold true. But what does hold true is the amount of all in that has been seen at the school sites. You know, seeing it when I drop my own kids off at school in the morning, seeing our administrative assistants running triage essentially for students that are coming in with varying symptoms, you know, trying to catch parents before they leave their kids at school, to our parents that are asking those hard questions as to, you know, how do we keep track of who's sick, who's not sick? And, you know, asking those questions of themselves, you know, do we keep our kids home or do we send them to school? There are no easy answers to this. But I just want to thank everybody for extending just the grace and courtesy towards everybody around. You know, that's so hard to do when emotions and everything just feels so triggering. So I just want to thank everybody for that, and to just encourage everybody to take care of themselves, and self-care is so important right now, both emotionally and physically. So yeah, that's what I have.
guess I can't be the only one that doesn't make a comment at the end. I wasn't going to, but I echo a lot of what other people say. Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a wonderful break. I hope that everyone was able to relax, spend time with family, friends, you know, self-care as Trustee Warren was just mentioning. So, and welcome back. I know it wasn't necessarily the expected entry back into school that anyone planned for. And so, you know, I know we're, again, just super appreciative for everyone to, you know, all the kids and families that are being cautious and not doing things that you want to do for the good of our community. Thank you. And, you know, let's all continue to keep doing that. You know, same with all of our teachers and staff. I mean, I can only imagine that it's still kind of scary sometimes to go to work. You're doing it every day to support our kids, knowing that it's what's best for them. And so thank you. And I know, you know, our district staff continues to go above and beyond and pivot and responsive to community feedback and teacher and staff feedback. And so I'm really appreciative for that, because I think, you know, these situations require that sort of flexibility and adaptability. And so I'm appreciative that we're pivoting as we need to, ensuring that health and safety is first and foremost for everyone. So just really feeling grateful and just, you know, continuing to be appreciative for the work that, you know, all of our stakeholders are doing as we navigate through this. And looking forward to you know, to coming out of this, hopefully, to some extent, but also not necessarily holding my breath, but knowing that we'll get through it one way or another. So super appreciative of everyone. And I think that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Item number 8 is our future regular meeting dates. They're listed on the agenda. Does anybody need them read out to you? It's January 27th, February 10th and 24th, March 10th and 24th also. So we're on item number 9, adjournment. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I will motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Watkins for the motion and Trustee Corzo for the second. Roll call, we'll go with Trustee Warren.
Yes.
Trustee Watkins.
Yes.
Trustee Corzo.
Yes.
Trustee Chin.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. We are adjourning at 8:12. Thank you.